Oh, hey everybody, how you doing? Yeah, this is a different setting than the normal setting that I've had, but for basically good reason. Um, I'm still recovering from my cold, and outstairs it tends to be a little warm. What did I say? Warm? I meant cold, right? Um, so I'm taking necessary precautions. Shirt buttoned up, all that stuff. Look, I'm just gonna get to the like Keith Roscoe just put up here. He's sad, and here I mean right here is the computer right there. Okay, as you can see, and I want to thank Joseph Amanduris for his video he went over and made here in Zenny 62. He went to a store in Los Angeles and which makes hats and has sports lids, sports caps, and he interviewed several people there uh, to get their reactions. Yeah, I think the thing is it's now 121 here in the East, and we're still up. Granted, slept most of the day because I was recovering from a cold that's been hanging on too long, and I was trying to stay away from my mom and keep energy. I've got a bit all that, but just trying to process why. And I heard ESPN, and I just had this idea of doing this live stream just to share because so many people are doing that, and they're doing it. And I think the whole point is the question is we're all stunned, right? But why? Okay. And I think for me, it's because, first of all, Kobe was 41 years old. He just retired in 2016. This is just 2020. He could have played another 3 years. There was no reason really needed to stop. His last game, he shot 60. Um, but of all the people you'd expect that to happen to, the last person on your list would be Kobe Bryant, let alone his 13-year-old daughter. And it feels like, now we see these movies where people passing is taken, like, can be done like a snap of a finger, like Thanos, right? But real life is a different story. And when someone's life is taken like that, when it feels like that, you can't help. I mean, and everybody knows it. Okay, okay, you can't help at all, but but believe. Okay, you can't help at all, but believe that think that you know how much time do you have? It makes you question. It makes you realize your own mortality, like the degree to which you uh, how much time you have. You know, and I think for us personally around this household, uh, I was pausing because I realized I have to send my rent back to Oakland, which I'll do tomorrow. I mean, I'm ahead, but I've got this clock. Um, but I'm here, right? And we've been to my my stepfather's brother's funeral in December, and been to a number of funerals this last 3 years, and it doesn't get any easier. It doesn't matter if it's somebody close to you familially, right? Or someone who you feel like because of technology, communications, what that person does, in this case, being a popular basketball player, and the fact that this modern communication system we have allows you to see that person and read all about that person all day if you want to, right? Um, and people are doing that. But I just think for me, and I think for a lot of people, no one you don't expect that to happen like that. You just don't. And Kobe Bryant is somebody you expect to live on and do great things, and you hear more about him. And then in passing, your first thoughts about him are all good. And for me, hey John Marks, how you doing? I'm getting there. I'm not quite there, but I'm getting there. Hey, by the way, as a moderator, keep your eyes open, okay? You know what I mean. At any rate, the Geek Freak says, I never knew that Kobe Bryant had the impact he had on the lives of other people, especially athletes. And Joseph Amadura says, what breaks my heart the most is young daughter Gigi. She had a whole life ahead of her. And yeah, that's the thing. Mike Lowry sent me a text, who's another regular viewer here, has been on this show a few times, and he said, and he had his own personal issues with Kobe, but he said that he cried because his daughter is gone, right? And um, but also I think you said it. You said uh, John Mark says, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. He shall be missed, and his daughter too. Um, and all this, I think, comes down to a passage scripture I found in the Bible uh, that, and I don't have I'm not a specialist here. I don't have this magic scripture you can go to, but for some particular reason, this one just stuck out at me. And it's a chapter 19, 1 Chronicles 19. Now it came to pass after this that uh, Nahash, the king of the children of Ammon, died, and his son reigned in his stead. And David said, I will shew kindness unto Hanan the son of Nahash, because his father showed kindness to me. And David sent messengers comfort for him concerning his father. So the servants of David came into the land of the children of Ammon to Hanan to comfort him. And but the princes of the children of Ammon said to Hanan, thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he hath sent comforters unto thee? Are not his servants come unto thee for search and to overthrow and spy on the land? Wherefore Hanan took David's servants and shaved them and cut off their garments in the midst hard by the buttocks and sent them away. And then there were certain and told David how the men were served, and he sent them to meet them, for the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. And when the children of Ammon saw that they made themselves odious to David, Hanan and the children of Ammon sent 1,000 talents of silver to hire them chariots and horsemen out of Mesopotamia and out of Syria and out of Zobah. And what catches me about this is that he said, I will shew kindness unto Hanan the son of Ash, because his father shewed kindness unto me. And in other words, that when I think about Kobe Bryant, I think about how much he's passed on to people, how much he passed on in terms of the kindness of his knowledge, the kindness of sharing his knowledge, his philosophy, his greatness. That's all I've ever heard people talk about today. I think that's why I picked this up and I turned to it. I just happened to freeze here. Um, if you're trying to find lessons in someone's passing, aside from the very jarring one that, hey, look, as creatures, as animals, we don't know how much time we have on this earth. We just don't. And the dual message here is, on the short life you have, be good to people. Because if you are good to people, those people will remember that. And they will pass that goodness on to other people. And they'll pass that goodness on to people that you're related to. that goodness can come in many forms, you know. So I didn't mean this to be that kind of lecture. I was just sharing a thought. That's all. Because this is I needed to. I'm not a Bible toter or anything, but I believe in God, and I that's me, you know. But we all search for something. Now, Keith Roscoe says here, growing up in Southern California, I'm the same age as Kobe, and followed his career. Always do the best with whatever gifts you have, not to waste whatever gifts you have. Omandiah says the end of days is coming. You know, my mother said the same thing. I don't know if I don't know if I agree with that because I've heard that most of my life. And but having said that, there are forces, and maybe this has to do with Kobe's passing too, that seem like they're sort of forcing, creeping upon us. Like, for example, this idea that there's an us versus them, right? Oh, you're very welcome, Keith. It's like this us versus them. Why does there have to be a us versus them? And why do people have to get on social media, use a fake name, and say bad things about you? And why do we emphasize that, right? Uh, um, a lot of whys. No, do you see how many whys I just put out there? Uh, Let me go on and read your other comments. And Ham said, every athlete through all sports respected the Mamba mentality. Ham, I'm glad you said that. Raider Nation said, this is a dark day. Rest in peace to the GOAT. And Joseph Amanderas, I want to thank you for making that video at the store here at Zenny 62, where you interviewed people on their reactions to Kobe's passing. But I think for me, what I'm trying to process this with the numbness that I'm feeling is because I was sick, or because he passed, or both. I don't know. Eric Young says, I don't like saying that either, talking about the end of days is coming. We've been having the last days for centuries now. Yeah. Um, and yeah, I mean, what are the end of days? Yeah, I don't understand what that is. Del Homie says, rest in peace, Black Mamba. And I want to talk about Black Mamba too, because on a positive note, you know, Black Mamba means Black Mamba is a branding that Kobe came up with for himself because he said he was going through so much. I'm paraphrasing that he just finally said blanket, and it's the idea is he's just gonna mow through competitors, just push and work to succeed, right? Uh, and that's a good attitude to have in life. Okay. Eric Young says the day you die is the end of days. But then, you know, it does beg the question, though. Kobe's Bryant's passing is being shared by billions. And so I think that's why, I mean, I understand why that point of view would come about because that's something we're forced to share, you know. At any rate, Ham says, honor him by embracing the mama mentality in your life. Try to be better today than yesterday. And yeah, and let me get back to the mama mentality subject about what it is. Um, and I think I had actually saved that here uh, to repeat for you regarding the Mamba mentality. And here it is, okay? And how Kobe, the question is basically you're wondering, well, how did Kobe get that nickname? And according to a post I found at heavy.com, it goes like this. Um, Fans and players alike often referred to Kobe Bryant as the Black Mamba, which has been shortened to simply Mamba in recent years. Uh, the meaning of Bryant's Mamba nickname comes from an alter ego that the legendary player created to try to give himself an edge on the basketball court. Bryant detailed the origins of the Black Mamba in a documentary called The Muse, or Muse. And this is what he said. I had to separate myself. It felt like there were so many things coming at once. It was just becoming very, very confusing. I had to organize things, so I created the Black Mamba. And then Bryant went on to explain his thought process. He says it was just blank everyone. I'm destroying everybody that steps on the court. I had all this pent up frustration that I just needed to let out. It was an avalanche, man. There was nothing that was going to get in the way. There was nothing that was going to stop me. After his retirement from the NBA, Bryant spoke to a number of teams, different teams across various sports about developing the Mamba mentality along with his leadership philosophy. Former NBA player Richard Jefferson noted on ESPN that the Mamba mentality was a singular focus to attack your goals. Um, I would personally add that I think it's a singular focus to attack your life, right? Um, and it says Brian discussed this mentality in detail in his book, The Mamba Mentality. Players, the Players Tribune, which is a good news site developed by NBA players, sports players in sport, said or quoted him as saying, "Brian, I like I like challenging people and making them uncomfortable. That's what leads to introspection, and that's what leads to improvement. You could say I just dared people to be their best selves. The approach never wavered. What I did adjust, though, was how I varied my approach from player to player. I still challenged everyone, and I made them uncomfortable. I just did it in a way that was tailored to them." Brian also discussed his conversation with LeBron James about developing this killer instinct. Brian politely critiqued James when the two were teammates together on Team USA. "I always aim to kill the opposition," Brian said. "The main thing LeBron and I discussed was what constitutes a killer mentality. He watched how I approached every single practice, and I constantly challenged him and the rest of the guys. I remember there was one half we were messing around. I came in the locker room at halftime and asked the guys in a less PG manner what the blank were we doing. In the second half, LeBron responded in a big way. He came out with a truly dominant mindset, and I've seen him lead that way ever since." Uh, and he says one of the teams Bryant spoke with, he took this to Alabama, the Crimson Tide. But that basically ends the article, which I thought was quite good. Um, Jessica Dwyer, hey, Jessica's another one of our contributors. She said, it's also a wake up call for the racists out there who can see Kobe actually um, brought together everyone and seen as a hero by many colors and creeds. Yeah, she says, we need that in this country, God knows. Rob Iman says, I agree. And Rob Iman says, I love the brotherhood in the NBA today. And Phil Bourne says, in race, he says, this really hits a nerve. I'm only a year older than Kobe, but share the exact same birthday, August 23rd, 1977. His 78. You never know when your life is going to end. Um, that homie says, wonderful tributes in the NBA. And yeah, I I have to add too that it is because Kobe Bryant's a public figure and universally loved. I remember watching the tapes from his last game when he hung up 60 and just jack. And I was thinking about how wonderful American culture is, where um, the best of ourselves is celebrated regardless of who we are. And we want to do that as a people. And it's nice to be able to be reminded of the goodness in ourselves as a collective rather than someone doing what they can always remind you of what they think your differences are. I want, in that vein, I want to share with you something that happened to a girl that I think really needs our prayers and understanding. And I put her on the Oakland News Now website, and she's an activist, a climate change activist. And no, I'm not getting political here, so bear with me. But that's what she identifies herself as, and so be it. At any rate, what happened to this young lady named Vanessa? Nakate of Uganda, is that she was standing with a group of other climate activists in Davos, where the World Economic Forum is, and this is her right here. Let me show this, and this is her, okay, and the African American, well, not African American, African, and the picture that was distributed by the Associated Press cut her out of it like that. Basically, it's like she didn't exist, and that really struck me because essentially they killed her. And I'm not being over dramatic. I remember someone told me early on when I started getting into video blogging that they didn't want to be vlogged because it's taking your soul. The image is very powerful, and she wanted people to see. Thank you, Chi. Um, she wanted to say uh, the image is very powerful. All right, I mean very powerful. She wanted people where she is from to see that she, as an African, was involved in getting their message out regarding how they're suffering from the climate problem. And yet the Associated Press took her out. Now, they did so. The explanation was, oh, well, uh, we're really sorry, but we put a lot of pictures of her in. And no one believed it, okay? There's a problem where a person, generally sadly who's white, okay, who works for a media organization, doesn't think that you're there. They don't think you exist. That's been done to me a lot, or they don't want to see you. The San Francisco Chronicle's done that to me. Um, Audrey Cooper, the editor, did that to me. I've Twitter's done that to me, and for reasons that are made up. And that was recently regarding my account suspension, because I really don't know exactly why it occurred. But when you go back to when I read the reasons they gave, they said I had multiple accounts. Well, they have a help section that allows for people to have multiple accounts. It's right there in black and white. It's actually several pages long, right? And then regarding automation, they allow you to have auto posts from your blog to Twitter. So, and then they didn't send me the tweet where I had bothered anybody. Okay. And I know my conduct. But so this came from people who I believe, between those who are so called journalists, all right, who are white, who don't like that I take it, they don't really understand the point of view that I'm taking is very technical, all right? Um, but point that I'm making is they don't want to see a black face saying something, but they don't want to admit it either. And Kobe's passing shut all that out, because now you had to see everybody talking, and it because it happened on the same day. Well, actually, what happened to her happened yesterday evening, and her video, which I played for my mom, was just tearfully sad, and it points to why it's really important for us people to have a media that tells a story from their own eyes, not from somebody else's, because you can't trust that person. I've had a number of people, if I say something's racist, particularly white and male, they'll say that's not racist. But if a woman says it, they'll say okay, or it's some version of trying to say, well, you're racist for bringing up the race, which isn't the case. You have to be race conscious. Being treated racist, as racist will make you be race conscious. Okay. So, but my point is that we are at a place in our society where you have people in media who organizations we're supposed to trust. That's what we're told, right? Who are giving us images on a daily basis that are not true, and yet you have this legion of fans for that kind of media that will justify their actions. Well, who is that person, or who is that? Or in my case, um, I'm turning the system inside out. I say, hey, look, I'm going after a bulk terminal builder because lies are being told on them by the mainstream media. I'm going after them as a client to pay because everybody in media knows, okay, everybody, that you cannot make money with ads and paywalls today. You just cannot sustain a media company that way. Anybody who tells you otherwise is lying. There's a lot of lying going out there. Everybody knows we need bigger investors to put money into what you do. And so I thought, hey, with Zenny 62 Media, I'm going to say who our clients are, and I'm going to punish the mainstream media for not telling their stories. Okay? For not telling their stories. Okay? So, be pure out simple. Okay? So, um, I don't, pure out simple. Okay? So, um, it, pure out simple. Okay? So, point that I'm making is we have this element out there that's in institutions that we're supposed to trust that is showing that we can't trust it to tell our stories. And so for me, the Mamba mentality is basically blank them. Tell your story. Do it the way Kobe would do it. Vanquish your competitors. I don't mean in reality, but I mean in terms of your work world. But do what he did off the court and off the business field, and that he loved his family and loved his friends. See, those are the messages here. Okay. On the court, in the public eye as a media, you're starting your own media company, your own business, adopt the Mamba mentality because there's way too many people who are trying to shut you down. And many of those are institutions that we have been told we should trust. But you have to remember, these so called institutions are just groups that somebody else made for their own pleasure. All right? Period. End of story. All right? Straight out. Okay? Straight out. So, it's me read some more of your comments. Uh, I'm going to purposefully stay away from comments that have to do with anything that is off the direct subject of Kobe and Bryant, the meaning of his passing. Okay, so there's going to be some comments that I skip over. All right. Um, and Riot Abbott says the news said 5, which was Kobe and his 4 daughters. Now it's 9 people. Yeah, there's a player that people don't want to mention. Okay, so and Ryan Abbott, I want you to make comments that are focused on Kobe and right now. Now, if it's a comment that I'm going to go fluid, all right. So I want to flesh this out. I don't want to get off the track, uh, but I'll be flexible. Like for example, if it's a Raiders question, I'll take it because that's our area. But I don't want to get off the track, and I also don't want to feed people who have something bad to say anyway. I'd rather they just go away. Fortunately, the people we have here are people that are sticking with us. Um, Jessica, are you there? Thank you. I want to thank Jessica for her work as a Zenny62 vlogger. I don't know if she's still around or not. Um, and then Joseph, are you around as well? So let me see what other comments I may have missed here. I think I've got every single one so far. And then let me go back to um, comments that have been made that I think are notable online um, to share here. Donis says a sad day for the NBA family. I think that's the other thing too. I think it's beyond NBA, don't you, Donis? I mean, I think this is more a sad day for America, a sad day for Los Angeles. All right. In fact, that reminds me, I want to go and check what Los Angeles media saying, like the LA Times, um, Los Angeles Times. And Los Angeles Times headline, Kobe Bryant, daughter Gianna, among 9 dead in helicopter crash. Fred's search for cause. That's what this is. Okay. And then, and Lopez, Kobe Bryant was LA. I think this hits me. Kobe Bryant was LA. Our dreams, our sweat, and the drive that unites a far flung city. But I think that can be said for the country. Kobe Bryant unites America. Sports figures do that. The ones we've come to love. And some of you may talk about whatever problems he had, but I'm telling you, Kobe Bryant, I rooted for him all the time. Kobe Bryant overcame his problems. Okay? Period. End of story. I'm okay. Um, and big time. So Plakshy says, how can he be gone? His legend wasn't supposed to end this way. That's Bill Plakshy. Um, and Bill Plakshy was a famed columnist. And yeah, Kobe Bryant is the GOAT. Yep. And Bill Plakshy writes this for the LA Times. He writes, I'm screaming right now, cursing into the sky, crying in my keyboard, and I don't care who knows it. Kobe Bryant is gone. And those are the hardest words I've ever had to write for this newspaper. And I still don't believe them as I'm writing them. I'm still crying. And go ahead, let it out. Don't be embarrassed. Cry with me. Weep and wail and shout into the streets. Fill a suddenly empty Los Angeles with your pain. No, 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 damn it, no. Uh, Bryant, 41, and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, were among 9 people who died in a helicopter crash Sunday in Calabasas. And how does that happen? Kobe is stronger than any helicopter. He didn't even need a helicopter. For 20 years, he flew into greatness while carrying a breathless city with him. And this can't be true. Kobe does not die. Not now. Kobe lives into his golden years, lives long enough to see a statue erected outside Staples Center and his jersey inducted in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He lives long enough to sit courtside at Staples when he's stooped and gray, keeping alive the memories of 2 decades of greatness with a wink, maybe even fooling everyone one last time by retiring in a community next to Shaq. How can Mamba be dead? Mambas don't die, Plakshy writes. Why this? Why now? Why him? Why them? Kobe and Gianna leave behind an incredibly strong wife and mother, Vanessa, who's been through a lot, and daughters, Natalia, 17, Blanca, 3, and Capri, who was born last summer. Oh, boy. Wow. The horror of this is unspeakable. The tragedy of this is immeasurable. Go ahead and keep crying. You won't be alone. A huge hole has been cut out of Los Angeles' heart, and the wound is breathtaking. Kobe was your childhood hero. He was your adult icon. For 20 years, he was on posters in your bedroom, on the television in your living room, on the lunch talk in your school cafeteria, and the smack talk at your office water cooler, and ultimately riding down on a truck down Figueroa Street while you cheered and bragged and bathed in his greatness. You watched him growing up, and this city's relentless approach to sport grew with him, and soon, even with all of his off the court failings, many people felt they carried a little piece of him with them. On your best days, the days you landed a big account or aced a big test or just survived the battle of traffic, you felt like Kobe. You were Kobe. This is Bill Plakshy writing. And in the end, he was retired into a life of movies and books and coaching Gianna's basketball team. He was us. And I might add, he was also happy. was happiest for me and Plakshi, but then also I think Plakshi speaks for me. He not only dominated my professional life, he consumed it. He arrived in Los Angeles 2 months before I began writing this column. We used to joke that we started our journeys together. But then he would pat me on the back and shake his head at that notion because, well, he always followed his own path. He was the one Laker who never had an entourage, and many nights after games, we would chat as I walked with him to his car. Except when he would get mad at me for what he considered unfair criticism, and then he wouldn't talk for weeks because when he was playing, he was that rare fighter who never dropped his fists. Remember the Black Mamba, okay? Black Mamba. I covered his first game. I covered his last game. I wrote about everything in between the titles and the sexual assault charge and the trade demands and the titles again, and then finally the 60-point career ending game against Utah. I screamed from press row that night, just as I'm screaming now, still shaking, still not believing. Kobe Bryant is gone. We talked just last week. I emailed Kobe with a request to speak to him about being passed on the all time scoring list by LeBron James. He emailed me back immediately. He always did. He cleared his calendar and made time to chat on the phone because, as he always said, you've been there for everything with me. But then, in our 20-minute conversation, he showed a side of Kobe that I had not seen before. The edge was gone. The arms were open. He urged acceptance of LeBron. He preached calm for Laker fans. He said greatness wasn't worth anything if you couldn't share it. After about 5 minutes, the message of this call was clear. The steely eyed Mama was purposely moving into a role of a wise, embracing, and grateful leader of a community that has shown him so much patience and love. It's crazy watching this city and growing with it, he said before hanging up. I feel such an appreciation. I could never pay back the city for what it has given me. And now he's gone. Kobe is gone. Kobe is gone. I'll say it 81 times, and it still won't make any sense. Kobe Bryant is gone, and so too is a little bit of all of us. It's one of the best columns I've ever read. That's a good one. Well, that's good writing. Boy. Oh, if I do get to Miami, maybe I'll get a chance to track down Blaine Plakshi. I don't know if he's going to be there. Um, Heck, I don't know if I'll be there until Saturday. But me aside, you know, I want to get one thing out of the way that for some people is an elephant in the room, and that's the sexual assault charge. I remember when the news came down. That was a long time ago, and like many people who remember it, then I read everything I get my hands on, listened to everything, and the person that this lodge in Colorado, she went up to his room and she was like the hotel manager, general manager, and Kobe said it was consensual. Now, look, he was messing around on his wife, okay, but if you read it and you read it again and again and again, what it comes down to, what it looks like, is what happened. She got paid. She got paid. I'm not saying she went up to get paid, but look, when you go up, and in those days, other women would say, if you went up to a man's hotel room at 1 o'clock in the morning, you didn't go up to check and see if he was, safe or anything. Okay. Um, and she wasn't a housekeeper at all. That I don't see. That's why I went back there because of comments like that. She was not a housekeeper because that implies, somebody wearing a maid's dress or something like that. No, this person was executive management. She was the person, the concierge that that checks you in. She was a person that's commonly deals with high profile people. She was not a housekeeper. So please get that out of your mind. I don't know where that came from, but get it out of your mind. Um, and because some people bring that up and they jump to that not knowing it. And that, um, it's been so long, I forgot when that happened. Let me see something here. Um, and, and, and I think that's why Kobe, you know, he, he, he laid low for a while, quite a bit while. And, uh, and that was, yeah, 2003 was when that happened. 3 years after the turn of the century, or if you like, 17 years ago. That's how long ago it was. 17 years ago. And it happened in Eel, Colorado. Okay. Uh, and the person who did it's 19-year-old, and um, was at the lodge and spa, and she was, you know, so so basically he admitted that he had sexual intercourse with her, but stated that the sex was consensual. And and basically what happened was they had rough sex, and it was, as I recount it now, very much a situation where I think it got a little too much for her, and things went in another direction for her. Now, my other thought was alcohol involved, and that was never discussed. That was never brought up, even here. Reading this, okay, all right, and okay, and basically, all right, so basically, and not only that, the accuser, he said, touched him in a private place. All right. So this is a 19-year-old who went up uh, to have an encounter with Kobe Bryant that was a little too more than she expected, and decided it was, and he didn't say, hey, look, ease up. And there it goes. So it's not, so, people, okay, all right. Uh, and I remember I mean, one thing that Gopi Bryant definitely did was he cheated on his wife. That's the wrong thing. Do not cheat on your wife, okay? And also, hey, look, I don't care how much you like the woman, how excited you are. If she gets to a point where she changes her mind and says, no, you get up, you get off. Just say, woo, okay? That's really the lesson right there. Just, okay? So, anyway, um, they had, um, okay. So, it's, and then I think the other thing was that apparently the accuser was taking some sort of, she was an aspiring singer. That's right, I forgot about this. She was aspiring singer. She tried out on American Idol and with the song Forgive, but she failed to advance. In addition, um, uh, her identity was leaked a bunch of times, which I'm not going to do, okay? So the charges were dismissed against Kobe Bryant on September 1st of 2004, and after prosecutors spent more than 200,000 in, because the accuser said she was unwilling to testify. Okay, all right. So all right. So then she filed a civil case, and they settled that lawsuit. All right, and they said that apparently the lawsuit settlement is somewhere in the area of 2.5 million. So there is your story. Wasn't a housekeeper. Uh, this was in someone that they said they were taking drugs because she was schizophrenic. Um, but the bottom line is, if Kobe had just simply minded his business and not cheated on his wife, it wouldn't have happened. But it did happen. The case was dismissed. You hear that? For those of you who don't know, the case was dismissed. And then she sued, in a civil suit. They settled out of court, and reportedly by this she became a millionaire. Um, there you go. So I wanted to get that out of the way. All right. And as John Marks just wrote, and it really doesn't matter anyway. Um, Kobe was great no matter what happened. I completely agree. I agreed then and I agree now. Um, and Wright Abbott says he was a young millionaire who was recently married, so everyone has their faults. Yeah, I've seen God, no matter. Just Bryant Abbott says, now the Raiders changed their name to the Las Vegas Raiders, but they stay. Will they be called like the Los Angeles Gangs of America? How about the Las Vegas Raiders of Oakland? How about that? Okay. They started putting in the seats, right? But they put them in the upper row there, away from the elements. And I think they're putting them too early because if you look at SoFi Stadium, the seats aren't even in at that level, and SoFi Stadium is much further ahead. It's supposed to host Taylor Swift on the 1st of July. No, excuse me, the 25th of July. Yeah. So anyway, it's 2:07 in the morning. I wanted to talk about that and get all this. I wanted to talk about the meaning of Kobe passing, and for me, it means we're all brought together because it's reflective of how much power he had as a personality. Okay, he was a part of he was what I used to call as a signpost. He was a signpost on the zeitgeist. Yeah, zeitgeist is the spirit of the times, right? Signpost on the zeitgeist, and I think always will be. Right? Abbott says California Angels to Los Angeles Angels to Anaheim Angels. Yep. Well, anyway, something else regarding Kobe Bryant though. Kobe was with one team for 20 years. I mean, a lot of people don't even survive their careers with one team that long, right? Joseph Mamadura says Kobe Bryant evolved into a silent leader. Yeah, um, and I think like people talk about Kobe and Shaq and their arguments and everything, and I think part of that was immaturity, but I think the other part of it was Shaq understanding marketing and how to create buzz. And so I think a lot of the stuff that he did with Kobe was just, with a wink and a nod. All right. Like, you know, I think there was a lot of that because it was getting buzz. It was getting on TMZ, it was getting coverage, all that stuff. Okay. So I think there was a lot of reasons for that. It was genius. Shaq's a marketing genius, man. Shaq gets it. That's why I think Shaq is now a billionaire. Uh, wouldn't surprise me, or close to that. Wouldn't surprise me. Wow. All right, folks. This is Super Bowl week. I have credentials there. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get there, mainly because I've had this sickness, and then I didn't want to. Hmm, I didn't, to be honest with you, want to spend a lot of money for return that was going to be paltry. Here's the dirty little secret about all of this: videos get more traffic and engagement than the written word, than an article. Okay, um, by a factor of 2 to 3 times. And so I've gotten videos there, but now today it's not, how do I say it? It doesn't bring in the money it used to because there's so much media out there. And if you go there on business, you need to go there if you're going to produce something and say, okay, how much money is this going to make back for me? So you have to be strategic about it. Um, Also, and I have to say this candidly, this is the bigger reason. My mom is here, um, and I don't like living here alone. I brought her to Las Vegas with me. That's the bigger thing. I wouldn't be taking her. So I'll go one day to Steinberg's party. There's an outside chance I may be paid um, as a consultant to an organization I don't want to name until the deal is struck, if it's struck. This is something that they came up with about a few hours ago. And so I'm just going to hold out and see if it happens. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it happens, I'll be in Miami a little earlier, but not tomorrow. Tomorrow, and also it's like getting the flights back here and all this. And the thing too is this: I don't want to do this by myself. Go to places and then run into people that I know. I'm sick of that. Okay, I'd rather plan stuff out, have a budget, have a team here and there, and that's hard to do given my obligation to my family through here. It just is, okay? So, okay. So, it's just hard to do. So, I think we're making a comment about Ring Central and the Coliseum. Well, they wanted a better one, and they didn't pull out of it. I don't know where you got that from. Um, um, Ring Central didn't pull out of anything. Read Oakland News Now. Okay, read Oakland News Now. Here's the situation with Ring Central. Okay, the situation with Ring Central is that they're working on new terms. Read Oakland. Look, read Oakland News Now. You didn't get that from me. Read OaklandNewsNow.com. If you bring something here you haven't read Oakland News Now, don't mention it. Because if I see some in the future, I'm going to see something. It doesn't look like it came from us. I know that didn't come from me or anybody else. It didn't come from Joseph Armendariz. It didn't come from Richard Hike. It didn't come from Donald Richardson. It didn't come from Jessica Dwyer, who does, is our VIP for entertainment and horror and movies. All right. It didn't come from any of those folks. It's wrong. What Henry Gardner has been working on is a better deal for Ring, but it's not. Ring Central's not out of anything. Their name is up on the Coliseum. Excuse me. Um, um, so, hey, Eddie says, what do you think of reporter Allison Morris slip up on an interview on MSNBC? I didn't see that. Now I have to Google, find out what you're talking about. Allison Morris, MSNBC. Let me see what you're talking about here. Uh, Allison Morris, slip up interview, MSNBC. Do that, and then take care of that. Excuse me, and boom. Uh, and oh, she's somebody who apparently used a racial slur, I guess. Um, that's weird. Um, she says she didn't say it. Okay, moving along. I don't want to get. I don't want to wade in the weeds of that. Well, let me just take a look because I have a feeling this is not the last time I'm going to be asked about this. So let me see what's going on here. Um, uh, she apologized and she said, let me hear what she said here. All right. Okay. I'm listening to the video now.
It seems like he was just the kind of athlete, the kind of star that was perfectly cast on the Los Angeles Lakers. Kavita, if I...
Oh, they're making a big deal out of this? Look, this is... Seriously? Nothing. It's just, you know what? That's nothing. That came from somebody who saw it on some form of social media and went, and you click through and you think, seriously? Nothing. 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 Okay? Nothing. Nothing. Hey, Ryan, only look at Oakland News Now. All right, this is the we're the definitive source regarding Scott McKibben and the Coliseum JPA. Okay? Period. So I'm going to give you the link right now before I sign off, and I want you to read it so you can find out what's going on. And what I'm going to give to you is the Coliseum JPA. All right, so if you're not, let me put it this way. I'm ordering you to be a fan because now I've got stock in this game, pal. This is a private Delaware company. We have 1 million shares of stock, and I'm going to protect their value with all my heart and breath. So you come on here, promote what we do, read our stuff. If you see something that you think that we should cover, send me an email. But don't, all right, period. End of story. And the reason why I'm that way is because, hey, look, I chose to establish a beachhead on that story, pure and simple. So, all right, pure and simple. It's exactly what I did. Now, Richard Hike also went through a great deal of trouble. Okay, he was paid to go to cover the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority meeting about Ring Central. He's got the whole meeting, save for closed session, all right? He's got the whole meeting on video. And here, right there is the link, all right? Read it. All you have to do is watch the video. It has Ring Central, the updates, everything. It's all there. But I'm explaining to you the bottom line is this. The Ring Central deal is not going anywhere. And I believe Scott McKibben will settle out of court because he did not commit conflict of interest. The reason he didn't is because the board of the Coliseum asked him to essentially serve as the marketing consultant and put the Ring Central deal together with Ring Central. And Scott had no knowledge of the existence of Section 1090 law, and there are protections for him such that he could claim entrapment by estoppel. In other words, he was placed in a position that by its nature was a conflict of interest. He didn't know it. They didn't tell him, and they further pushed him to take those actions. So Scott will come out of this one okay, but Scott is very upset, and I believe rightly so, that the Coliseum Authority has chosen to take actions against him when he was brought to them their best financial period in their entire history. In their entire, in the entire history of the Coliseum JPA as it was formed in 1996. That's a sad fact. Because for decades, the Raiders got away with unusually low rent, $900,000, whereas many teams in the NFL are paying several million in rent per year. So now the Raiders are in a situation where they have to pay that, and they're going to pay even more in Las Vegas. But the good news in Vegas is they'll have MGM as a partner, Caesars. They're going to have more money than they've ever had in their existence. The Raiders will. That's a great thing. I think they'll do exceptionally well in Vegas as an organization, and I think financially their best days are ahead of them. Just there it is. Okay. Excuse me. Right. We'll talk about the Super Bowl tomorrow. See you later.